So the Webuild S has been on my radar for quite a while now, and I've just heard some really impressive things about it. Now this thing has some pretty interesting features, but will this actually be my newest gimbal? What's going on, guys? I hope you're well. Today we're going to have a look into this bad boy right here. This is the Webuild S. Now we'll go into a little bit of a review of this and why I think you might have to not look anywhere else. Now the very first gimbal I actually bought was the old Zhiyun Crane 2. Now this big beast had a 3.2 kilo payload. Oh boy, it was as heavy as a large kangaroo. It definitely did the hard yards with all my cameras, but now I have this mini Godzilla. But before we get into this, yes, I was given this by Zhiyun, but no, I was not paid to do this review. So this is completely independent review, and as always, the opinions will always be neutral. So I'll always have some pros and cons about anything I do. Now the one thing I did notice with this gimbal is different from the rest is actually the ergonomics. Now the ergonomics on the Crane 2 out of the box wasn't great. It was big, it was chunky, it was hard to get used to at first, but obviously eventually you do get used to any tool you buy. But then I actually invested in a side handle and also a top sling, which improved the ergonomics like crazy. I was able to do so much more with the gimbal just because I was actually able to hold it properly. Now the ergonomics is really subjective, and this is my opinion. This one seems to be pretty much the best design so far. Now you're able to throw a tripod mount at the top, which this actually enables you to do low shots with it. Now, why the hell would you care about this? Well, I had taken the Crane 2 everywhere. Domestic plane flights, internationally. Having a smaller gimbal is super handy. Now, I can guarantee you that form factor does help when you're actually traveling around. There's nothing worse than having to downgrade to a smaller camera and to a smaller gimbal just because you don't have enough space. But not only this, the gimbal is actually completely modular, so if you don't have to worry about travel space, you can kit this bad boy out. Now you can get the version where you actually have the manual focus pulling, which I love. I was used to that on the Zhiyun 2. Now, focus pulling manually is very common on film sets, and I do this a lot with my videos. But yes, I know autofocus is incredible with the Sony cameras at the moment, but there is so many times that you will actually need to be in charge of the focus, and you just want to choose where you want to be in focus. Now, it all depends on how you shoot with that one anyway. But not only that, you can actually attach this with a Wi-Fi transmitter that can wirelessly transmit video feed to an external device. Like honestly, what more do you want? This is absolutely awesome. But in honest opinion, that is also more of a want rather than a need. It all depends on how you actually shoot. Do you need wireless feed to give to, say, a director or to one of your clients to look at? It all depends, but it's awesome to have that feature there anyway in case you do need it. And the great thing, obviously, with this wireless transmitter is that it is so small. Now, I have a whole bunch of other wireless transmitters that are just massive, require their own battery, which sucks. This one, you actually has a battery internal. You use a micro USB charger to charge it up. Boom, that is awesome. No Sony NP-F battery to attach onto it, so it makes it really nice and compact form factor, so you can just chuck it straight onto the camera while it's on the gimbal. Now, one thing they haven't actually mentioned is the payload on their website. So I don't know if anyone knows this, but it would be pretty handy to see what kind of payload it actually does, but apparently it can handle some pretty decent weight, like a heavy DSLR and even like your Canon big 24-70 glass. Now the one big thing about this is that I actually like over the Crane 2 is that it has axis lock. Wasn't used to that on the Crane 2, but if you are walking around, like a lot of wedding shoots, I actually had to sling it down. It was a little bit difficult, keep the gimbal on, but this one I can turn the gimbal off, lock the axes, and then just walk around with it, and you don't have the camera sort of flinging around. That was super painful, especially if I went from one location to another during the car, you know, putting it down on a seat, it just sort of flung around. This one, lock the axis, boom, awesome, quick for transportation. That's great. Now, some other notable features it has, you can actually obviously use your smartphone to connect to the gimbal as well. Pretty much most gimbals have this function anyway. You have sync motion, which is kind of cool, which is just like a motion sensor controlled system based through the app. This allows you to actually fully control the gimbal through motion of your smartphone. I haven't been in a situation where I've actually needed that yet. One thing, again, that's probably more of a want rather than a need, but it is there in case you do actually need it or want it. Now it also has dual quick release system. So this is probably one of the best things I like, is that if you have an actual standard Manfrotto mount, it fits straight on the top, or even the other one is an Arca Swiss mount as well. You can just quickly unclip the camera and boom, you can go shoot however you want to shoot, handheld or on a tripod. Now, obviously, if you do have those Manfrotto tripods or the Arca Swiss mount, this will work for you. Now, all up, I think this is my newest go-to gimbal. You know, it really does have everything I need in a smaller package. And I might even start using this for my smaller APS-C cameras. Like I've got a couple other gimbals for my A6400, and I do have to take off my A6400 cage. Like I've got a cage that's sort of pretty bulky, but it is good to leave it on, and then I'm able to chuck it on the Weebill S, which is great. And obviously it handles my A7 III and my other cameras as well, but I'm really happy. This is probably my go-to gimbal from now on, and you'll probably see a whole bunch more videos with this. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. That would be absolutely amazing. Comment below, what gimbal do you actually use? Really like to know that. Other than that, my name is Jason Morris, and I'll see you guys in the next one.